Maya Angelou was born on April 4th, 1928. She was raised in St. Louis, Missouri, by her parents until her parents got divorced. After her parents were divorced, she was raised by her grandmother in a little town called Stamps, Arkansas. Living in that small town in the South, Angelou experienced a lot of racial discrimination. And if you read a lot of her works, you can see that she brings a lot of her past childhood experiences into her works. At the age of 7, Angelou was raped. After she told her uncles what had happened, the uncles had beat the man to death. After this happened, Angelou thought that what she had said had killed the man. She thought that her words could kill. So she took a vow of silence. And 5 years later, one of her teachers introduced her to poetry. And Angelou began using writing and poetry as a form of therapy to overcome her past traumatic experience of being raped. So after finding this therapy, Angelou then began to speak again and open up to others again. As a young woman and a senior in high school, Angelou became pregnant with her first son. Even though she became pregnant, she still graduated from high school, and she still pursued her career to become a writer. At first, she was pursuing a career to be a dancer and a performer, but later she began to focus more on writing. Angelou has worked with several civil rights activists back in the 60s. She worked with Martin Luther King Jr. as well as Malcolm X. She would speak at their rallies, she would head up committees for them, and it was interesting that she worked with Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X both, because those are two very different civil rights activists. They had different views on what they thought civil rights were, and I think it's interesting that she worked so well with both of them. Angelou also served on a couple presidential committees, and she has spoke at a few presidential inaugurations. So she is a very well-known author, and she's a very powerful speaker as well. And when she wrote her first autobiography, she met up and was very good friends with James Baldwin, who was an author back when she was a young woman. And he kick-started her first autobiography, which was I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And reading a lot of her works, she has several autobiographies, they all reflect on everything she's gone through in her past. Even the stories that aren't her autobiographies deal with a lot of the situations that she dealt with growing up. Now, all of this information was not so easy to find, and I'm not going to lie, I did start researching on Google just to get the basic information, and a lot of my information came from Maya Angelou's website. She has her own website, and she has an autobiography on there, which is where I got a lot of my information on where she was born and some of her childhood experiences. But to get more in depth, I went to North Central's library database, and I logged on off campus. It was really easy, and what I did was I searched through the Literary Reference Center, and by doing this I was able to type in Maya Angelou and some of the keywords that I wanted to look up. Like, I wanted to look up some reviews of her works, and I wanted to look up some of her life experiences. So I would type all that in, and it would bring me up a list of everything. There were so many different sources. There were books, there were magazines, there were professional journals, and using all of these, I was able to get educated information that was very useful for my project, and it helped me write a really good paper. At least I think it was a good paper. So definitely use the North Central's database because it really does help with a lot of your research, and it makes it so easy. Everything's organized. It's basically cited for you. So, needless to say, researching was not very hard. It was just a matter of knowing the information I wanted to gather and knowing how to get that information.